and welcome to Talk RX with Dr. Neha. We're filming in Bali, and I have a special guest, Salma. Salma lives in London and is traveling in Bali as well, so another new friend that I made. And as soon as we started talking about it, she said she was willing to ask her question and be brave so all of you could learn as she learns. So welcome, Salma.
Hello.
So good to have you here.
Lovely to be here.
Yeah. So tell me, what have you been thinking about? What questions have come to mind?
Well, there's so many questions, but there are loads of them. But I think maybe a pressing one, an interesting one that I've been thinking about over here, is it's the idea of Mr. Right and waiting for Mr. Right, and I feel like. I'm not interested in sitting around waiting for Mr. Right, and so I make my life really full, and I'm really happy with that. But sometimes I wonder, have I made it too full to allow any space for Mr. Right?
So tell me what making it too full sounds like. What does it look like?
My day would be actually possibly disturbed if I had to share it with another. I do what I feel like doing, and I'm quite happy following my own train of thought, my own instincts, and not having to check in with somebody else and not have to not do what I feel like doing. And I find a lot of joy in that, and especially when traveling, I find a lot of joy in being so spontaneous. And so I don't, especially when traveling, feel the lack of having a partner. Apart from maybe when sunset is setting on the beach and you see people kissing, maybe for a moment that would be nice.
Yeah.
But generally, just for that moment, because the next moment I'm busy again.
Yeah. So you have filled your life with things you love doing and traveling, and you also told me you were an art teacher.
Yes.
You teach art. You create your own art. And so in this space, it just feels like it would almost be like a nuisance to have somebody else to have to think about and manage and coordinate with.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it just sounds like somebody that would be worth doing all of that for has not surfaced for you yet. Is that true?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Okay. And so tell me about a time where you felt like you had to do all of that, compromise, and it was just too much work. Did it ever feel that way for you?
Yes, a recent relationship I had felt like a lot of work, and I didn't realize until I was out of it that it had turned to from about 30% to a much larger percent of what I was doing was because of him, but and being so aware of his needs and things that he wanted to do that I didn't realize it was just taking me further and further away from my own desires and the way that I wanted to live my life.
Okay, so it sounds like when you're alone, you can hear your intuition very clearly. Mm-hmm. You know where you want to go, you're adventurous, you're spontaneous, and you go out and do it, and it's like freedom. And then when you're in the presence of another, especially a romantic partner, it's almost like you're describing, you lose yourself.
Yes.
So it feels like, I don't know why I'm getting this feeling of like almost drowning, like who am I? Like, where do I belong in this?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. I don't seem to find the middle ground. It's either completely by myself
Yep.
or in a relationship and completely lost.
Aha. So now it makes sense why you would choose to be by yourself rather than be with someone else, because it feels like you lose your own connection to spirit and to guidance and to intuition and to self.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So one way to do that, I think, would be not to be in a relationship, right? That's a choice, certainly. And, I'm just wondering if that's what you truly desire. So I just have to break in here a minute and say, culturally, that's amazing, because I'm a single woman, I'm 46 years old, and I know what it's like to hear from everyone else around me that is not okay, right? Mm-hmm. So following ambition and career and, all of these things, the next question is like, where are the babies? Mm-hmm. Like, where are our grandkids? Mm-hmm. So have you ever gotten any of that?
Yeah, of course. I get that, and I get that from just all my friends around me.
Aha.
Everyone's having babies, and so it's like a constant
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for me, and I want to ask you too, it's like there's this way that I've always known that I would love to have children. Should the right person come along while the window of time is there, I would enjoy that. And maybe it'll look different. Maybe I'll meet someone who's already had children and I'll get the joy of motherhood through being with them. Or maybe they won't have children and that's not my calling, right? But I've become more open about that. How has that been for you?
Well, I think I've just turned 42 in May, and it seems like I'd never really thought about kids or not having kids, and suddenly I was 42, 40, and then 40. Sorry, no, I'm 41. I'm 41. But then
You're
suddenly
working
I was
on
40,
42.
and then I became
Yeah.
41, and then I was like, oh my god, so I guess am I gonna have kids or not? And some people are like, oh my god, she had a child, she was 42. When I hear things like that, I'm like, what? I've run out of time already, and I didn't even think about it.
And someone
because I
else
was
is telling
busy.
you. Someone
Yeah.
else is telling you you've run out of time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's not actually the truth.
Well, I don't even know biologically. I mean,
Right.
you know.
You don't know.
Well, yeah, I guess
We don't know
don't
yet.
know.
And so it's wonderful that people are bringing up the idea so that while you have the opportunity, you can actually think about it.
Yeah.
You know, and then the big question is, this was a big decision point for me. Do I ever want to do that on my own as a single mother? And to me, that didn't feel like the right choice. So it became easier for me to surrender and say, if someone should come into my life, and that's something jointly we choose to create, I would love to do that. And for me personally, that wasn't the path I wanted to take, right? And so for you to think through, I think any of those paths are the right path for whoever they resonate with, right? So have you given any thought to that?
Yes, I have. I was recently in a situation where actually this person that I was interested in offered for me to have his child, even though he's kind of all over the place and completely non-committal. So I thought about that because I really did care for him. I thought that's a possibility.
Yeah.
But then I thought about having a child alone, and it didn't seem right. It didn't sit right with me. I've always don't feel like I've had a maternal instinct in the way that some of my friends have had. And maybe it's because I'm a teacher and I teach 200 kids, and I'm so satiated by kids and love from children. By the end of the day, I'm like, ooh, quiet is nice.
Right.
And I think that's another reason why I haven't really thought about, do I want kids or do I not? Because I've just been so busy and I've been teaching. But I haven't had that desire, I think, because I've been with kids.
Yeah.
But
And your creativity comes in the art.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. And I think for me, I wouldn't want a child for the sake of having a child. But I think
Right.
for me, I did realize after thinking about this that it would have to be based on love and wanting to have a child with someone because
Right.
of caring for them.
Yeah.
So it's more as a creating something with someone I love,
Yeah.
rather than just having a child because of the urge. Because that urge I've
Had
not felt it very
on its
strongly.
own.
Yeah.
So, and that can change, right? So I'm open to the fact that maybe I'll change my mind. I don't know, right? So holding that is true for me right now, and, for anyone else, something else might be true. So to wrap up in the beginning of this, we had talked about how it's not actually that you don't want a relationship. It sounds to me more like you don't want to lose yourself in the presence of another. Does that seem right?
Yes.
And if you could find a way to get very clear about who you are and what you want and be independent rather than dependent, right? Develop your own independence so that when you're with someone else, you can have interdependence versus codependency. Would that change things for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've got this lovely book, Talk RX, that you know about, and I would be happy to work with you and do some work offline to help you begin to sort out what it is that causes you to lose, what you value and who you are in the presence of another. So I think it's really about learning how to turn up the volume of the voice of your own heart slightly louder than you can hear the voices of others. So any takeaways? Any
Well,
takeaway?
that's wonderful. I mean, this is just speaking with you and actually voicing out this question has made me realize that it's quite an important thing, and uh, hearing you clarified in the way that you did makes it seem more simple than I thought. I thought it was such an intricate, complicated thing that I'm just not can't get along with people. But you know,
I
or
think
with
you're
men.
delightful. So I've known you a few days. I think it's, yeah. So go ahead and with
So
men.
it's great to know that there, when you said that just the right person to fit in. And so it's not that I don't have space for people, it's just that don't have space for the wrong kind of person or for the person that doesn't suit me. And
Yeah.
I'm so happy to learn that.
Well, it sounds like it resonates. So that means it must be true. It's your truth that's resonating.
Thank you.
So thank you. And for all of you out there, if you have ever had the dilemma of trying to figure out complex, navigation in relationship of where do I belong? Who am I in the presence of another? Do I get lost there? And by the way, is my clock ticking, and what decisions do I need to make around that? If you feel that panic and anxiety, I hope this was helpful. And from you're Pakistani, yes?
Yes.
From a Pakistani and an Indian woman, I'm not sure people get more pressure than we do to procreate. Education and procreation are the name of our games for our culture. So I hope our discussion in any way was helpful to you. Thank you for joining us. This is Dr. Neha with TalkRx, and thank you, Salma, for being so honest and open. And if you had any thoughts or something you'd like to share with us on the blog below, maybe you do it differently and you want to share that, or you believe differently, we're open to hearing that. And if you have any ideas that you'd like to see in a future blog, drop me a tweet at #AskDrNeha, AskDoctorNeha. Until next time.